Hey guys, doing well today. In today's video, I'll be talking about the Friday games for Super Rugby Trans-Tasman for round 1. This means I'll be talking about the Highlanders versus the Reds and Waratahs versus the Hurricanes. So starting with Highlanders versus Reds, it should be a very interesting game obviously. The Highlanders did finish 4th within Super Rugby Aotearoa, while the Reds finished 1st. So it's going to be a very good competition there. The Highlanders are playing at home, so they will have home advantage. So yeah, it should be a very interesting game to watch. So obviously, here are the lineups, obviously, for both sides. I'll run them by with you guys, tell you what I think about them, and yeah, I'll give my prediction right afterwards. So obviously, with the Highlanders, they do have the likes of Johnstone as well as Tukalagi within their propping position. So two very good props, I'd say, and two props who definitely improved within Super Rugby Aotearoa. But they'll be facing the likes of Xander as well as Fotokaya within those propping positions. So the Reds actually don't have Tupou. Obviously, they're resting a lot of players, which is kind of expected in the sense where they played last week against the Brumbies. But yeah, if I had to say who'd actually win that battle, I'm gonna edge it towards the Highlanders. So obviously for the hooker position, you do have the likes of Ash Dixon, who is a co-captain, of course, for the Highlanders, and he'll be facing the likes of Brandon Pengamosa within that position. So I've been very impressed with Brandon Pengamosa. For the Reds, I think he's really just stepped up his game. Ash Dixon, I wouldn't give it to him, to be honest, if it was last season, because he was just insane last season with the amount of tries he was actually scoring. He was actually in the conversation of getting back into the All Black frame. But I just think Brendan Pengamosa, he's done so well for the Reds recently, and his form has actually picked up in pace. So for that reason, I'm going to select Brendan Pengamosa for that position. So moving on to the locks. So the locks is a very interesting one, obviously, with the likes of Perry Parkinson returning for the Highlanders. That's a huge boost for them, and his partner in crime will obviously be Josh Dixon. But for the Reds, you do have the likes of Ryan Smith as well as Angus Smith. So I wouldn't say that's their best lock pairing, to be frank. So for that reason, I'm actually going to edge it towards the Highlanders within that position. So moving on to the loose forwards. So the loose forwards is probably one of the key battles within the game, I'd say. You do have the likes of Hugh Renton, Billy Harmon, and Kazuki Himeno, who make up the loose forward trio for the Highlanders. But they will be facing the likes of, Angus Young within that 6th position, Liam Wright within the 7th position, and of course Harry Wilson at 8. So, if I had to compare both all sets of players, I would probably take Angus Scott Young over Hugh Renton. But then when you look at Billy Harmon over Liam Wright, I would probably give it to Billy Harmon just. I just think he's really had a good season. But Harry Wilson, Harry Wilson and Himeno, I'd say are at the same level at this point in time. And Himeno obviously was Rookie of the Year, if you didn't know. So for that reason, I'm actually going to give it a draw within that area. I don't normally do that, but I'm going to say it's going to be a draw within that area. So it should be pretty close to see who actually wins those breakdown, who's better within the breakdown. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the backs. So the backs is a very interesting, obviously, with a 9-10 combination for the Highlanders. You do have the likes of Aaron Smith and Mitch Hunt. So that's a pretty good duo there. They will be facing the likes of Kanani Thomas as well as James O'Connor within the 9-10 position. So the Reds haven't gone with Tim McDermott, which is, I'm not going to say unsurprising, because like I said, the Reds do have the rest some players in this game. So for that reason, I'm going to edge it towards the Highlanders. But if Tim McDermott was there, I actually would have given it to the Reds. But anyway, moving on to the centre position. So for the centres, they do for the Highlanders, you do have the likes of Scott Gregory as well as Michael Collins. So that's a pretty good duo, I'd say, and two players who I'd say definitely have improved within the most recent Aotearoa competition. But they will be facing the likes of Hamish Stewart and Joshua Fluke, and I'm beginning to like Hamish Stewart a lot more. I really like him. He reminds me in this weird way about how Anton Brown plays. I think they play very similar in the sense where they're very good defensively, but they also can create a lot of openings for other players. So yeah, I really like Hamish Stewart, and yeah, Joshua Fluke obviously is an up and coming player, and I think he's done very well with the Reds. Yeah, so for that reason, I'm going to edge it towards the Reds within those centre positions. But anyway, moving on to the wingers. The wingers is a very interesting, obviously, with Nareki, as obviously with that 11th spot for the Highlanders, and then obviously C.O. Tompkinson, who's actually been switched into that 14th spot, which is unusual to see because normally he is a centre, but he will be playing at 14 within this match. And then obviously for the Reds, you do have the likes of Jock Campbell, who's at that 11th position. He's been sensational to watch. I've really begun to like Jock Campbell. He could be like the next 15 really for the Wallabies if he really needed to. And obviously you do have the likes of Filippo Dangadu at that 14 position. So I really do like both the wingers, I'd say, for the Reds. And even though I would have gone with. I mean, the thing is, Jonathan Recchi, he's actually a solid winger. He's probably the best winger, in my opinion, out of that list there. But Tomkinson isn't really classed as a winger, so for that reason, I'm going to edge it towards the Reds within that position. So anyway, moving on to the last position, obviously, which is the fullback. You do have the likes of Sam Gilbert, who is in there instead of Josh Roney, who is still injured, which is disappointing to see. But obviously, they will be facing the likes of Bryce Hegarty. And Bryce Hegarty, I think he's a really good utility player, because obviously he can play in different positions. You know, you can play at 10, 15, wingers if possible, even the centers. So it's good to have a player like that. So for that reason, I'm going to edge it towards the Reds within that position. So that's kind of it with that. You know, with that lineups. If I had to give a prediction on who would actually win that game, I would actually give it. It's going to be a close battle, because I think the Reds are, they're a good team. But I actually think the Highlanders could actually scrape it. So for that reason, I'm going to say the Highlanders will win this game. But I think I'll say by 3 points. I think it's going to be very close. So I'll say they'll win this game 27 points to 24. Yeah, 27 points to 24 is my final prediction for that game. So anyway, moving on to the next game, which is obviously the Waratahs versus Hurricanes. Should be another interesting game, obviously. With the Waratahs playing at home within Sydney, so they will have home advantage. But the Hurricanes are obviously looking, both teams will actually be looking to actually respond. Both of these sides actually did finish last within the competition for both the respective comps. So we're definitely looking to get their first win. Not first win, but the Waratahs will be looking to get their first win. But both sides will definitely want to improve on what their position within before. Here are the lineups obviously for both sides. I'll run them by with you guys and tell you what I think. With the Waratahs, obviously, you do have the likes of Angus Bell and Harry Johnson-Home, so it should be very interesting to see who goes ahead there. But very good combo, to say the least, I'd say, for the Waratahs in that position. They will be facing the likes of Xavier Numia as well as Alex Fido. So for that reason, I'm going to edge towards the Waratahs in that position. For the hooking positions, you do have the likes of Dave Poriski against Dan Coles. Again, I think Dan Coles he has so much Super Rugby experience. He is pretty much an All Black caliber hooker, so for that reason, I'm going to edge it towards Dan Coles in that position. For the locks, it's a very interesting one, obviously, with the likes of Sinclair as well as Douglas for the Waratahs from that locking position, but they will be facing the likes of James Blackwell as well as Isaiah Walker-Lewea, so I think that combo is a lot better, because you have two up-and-coming players who have really, I'd say, grown in their potential, I'd say, within the last competition. So for that reason, I'm going to edge towards the Hurricanes within the locking positions. So anyway, moving on to the loose forwards. So the loose forwards is a very interesting one, obviously, with both sides having, I'd say some decent loose forwards, but also missing a lot. With the Waratahs, you do have the likes of Lachlan Swinton, Charlie Gamble, as well as Will Harris. So it's a pretty good trio there, I'd say. Particularly Lachlan Swinton, I'd say, probably being the best loose forward there. But you do have the likes of, they will be facing the likes of, Reed Princep, as well as Duplessis Karifi and Devin Flanders. So, I mean, even though the Hurricanes don't have Artis Sevilla, I think I still would have gone with them within that position, because they're really they have so much depth within their loose forward position. So, for that reason, I'm going to edge it towards the Hurricanes in that position. So anyway, moving on to the 9-10 combo. This is a very interesting one, obviously, because both sides, in my opinion, actually don't have the best 9-10 combo out of most of the teams within this competition. The Waratahs do have the likes of Jake Gordon as well as Ben Donaldson, but when you look at the Hurricanes, they only have like Luke Campbell and Ruben Love. So it's one of those where it's like young versus old, to say the least. And for me, I always go with experience. So for that reason, I'm actually going to edge towards the Waratahs in that position. And also, I think Jake Gordon is a class scrum half, and I love watching him, because he always gets a few tries under his name. But yeah, more or less, he will be captaining the side as well, so it's good to see him back within the lineups. But yeah, with that as well, with the centers, the centers was a very interesting, obviously, one, with the Waratahs, you do have the likes of Fokete as well as Parisi, so it's a pretty good combination there, I'd say. And for the Hurricanes, you do have the likes of Peter Mellon-Jensen as well as Billy Proctor. So I would have normally given it to the Hurricanes, I'd say, within that position. But Parisi has really impressed me, I'd say, throughout Super Rugby AU, and I think he really just stood out for the Waratahs team. So for that reason, I'm actually going to edge it towards the Waratahs in that position. So anyway, moving on to the wingers. So the wingers is a very interesting, obviously, one obviously with the likes of Mark. Always forget how to pronounce his name, but I'll give it a try. Nora Quanta Nasi. I'm going to say that's kind of what it is, the gist of it. But then obviously his partner in crime will be Alex Newsom. So it's a pretty good combo there, I'd say. But for the Hurricanes, you do have the likes of Sayo Rassi as well as Julian Savia. So for that reason, I'm going to edge towards the Hurricanes straight away. They have a young and experienced combo, young and experienced winger there. So for that reason, I'm going to edge towards the Hurricanes. Yeah, so the last position, obviously, you do have the likes of Jack Mallix and Jordy Barrett within that 15 spot, but I think I have to edge it towards Jordy Barrett. I mean, he's just one of, All Blacks, you could say most useful / he's a very useful player to have. Obviously, he is a utility player, and I think he's just good with his kicking as well. So for that reason, I'm going to edge it towards the Hurricanes in that position. So that's kind of what with that. Well, with those lineups, I mean, if I have to say who would actually win that game, I'm going to edge it towards the Hurricanes to win. And I'll say they'll win this game by at least 15 points, I'd say. I really think the Hurricanes will come out with a win here and come out strong. So I'll say they'll win this game at least 30 points to 15. Yeah, 30 points to 15 is my final prediction for that game. So anyway, that's kind of it with the video. Just hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely comment below if you want to see these kind of videos or if you want to see separate videos where I talk about individual squads. But anyway, just hope you guys have a good day, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.